We're playing detective again this week, but we're talking about habits and routines and the things that we want to do consistently. What if I told you that your habit streak wasn't about maintaining your streak perfectly and wasn't about telling yourself that you actually did the thing and you were consistent and you were disciplined and blah, 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 blah? What if we looked at them just as data points? Like every time you do or don't do that habit or that routine, it was a clue of what really works for you. Today, we're gonna figure out what those clues really mean. If we haven't met yet, my name is Isabel, and on this channel, we talk all about embracing your weird in order to build a better brand, business, and life. Most of us use habit streaks as a proof of success, right? As a proof of, I've done this thing consistently for 300 days and I'm awesome. And hey, if you have done a thing consistently for 30 days or 300 or 1,000, props to you, celebrate that. It is amazing that you've been able to do that. However, there's also the other side of a habit streak, which is that habit streak that you just can't seem to maintain, or that habit streak that you just keep breaking, or that routine that you just can't do consistently. And the way that we shame ourselves when we don't do them, when we break them. It's hidden perfectionism. It's wanting ourselves to be robots when we're humans, not robots. But also, it's ignoring the fact that every time we don't do a habit or we don't do a routine, there's feedback there and there's clues there about our lives and our energies and a bunch of stuff. Today, I want to go into what clues your habits or routines could be giving you. And the first one is clues of flow. So clues of flow are all about the things that you're trying to force yourself to do in a specific way that doesn't work for you. For me, for example, lately, that has been saying I'm going to exercise around noon. For whatever reason, I have been unable to exercise around noon, even though I usually prefer exercising around like 11 a.m. or 12. Lately, every single time I've exercised in the past few months has been at night around 8 p.m., which is not the time I prefer. It is not the time I like, and it is not the ideal time in my brain. However, it is the time that is working for me right now. That's not failure. That is a clue that what's naturally flowing in my life right now is to exercise at 8 p.m. So instead of shaming myself for being unable to exercise at noon, I changed the system. I changed the routine. Now I am making time to exercise at 8 p.m. because it is the time that's working for me right now. And that might change, and we'll talk about that later. But right now, that is the time that flows. So when you're not doing a thing in the specific way or at the specific time that you want to do it, but you are doing it in a different way or in a different time, look at that as a clue of flow. This flows better in a different way, and adapt. The next thing is clues of context or of environment. Sometimes habits don't stick because the environment is fighting against them. Okay, if you want to drink more water, but you have your water bottle in your bedroom and you're outside in the living room, you are less likely to drink more water because your water bottle is not there to remind you. If your phone is next to your bed, you're more likely to scroll in the morning. Context and environment are not an excuse. It is about adjusting the context to fit the things that you want to do the most. If you know that you want to drink more water, keep your water bottle with you at all times. Change the context, change the habit or the routine. But what about the times that a habit mostly works or a routine mostly works, but it keeps falling apart in specific situations? Those are clues of flexibility. Where are you being way too rigid with yourself? And I do this a lot. Let's say that you do your morning routine every single day without fail. Like Monday to Friday, you're like, yes, let's go. You're doing it. It's getting done. And then on weekends, you don't do your morning routine ever. That doesn't mean that you're lazy on weekends. It means that your weekends have or need their own rhythm. Again, we're not looking to shame ourselves for why it's not happening. We're looking to adapt. So what would a morning routine, an ideal morning routine, look like for you on the weekends? What is something that you do naturally, and what's something that you'd like to add? Sometimes the lesson isn't like keep going and push harder and da-da-da-da-da. It's to adapt smarter, work smarter, not harder, right? Maybe that weekend version of your routine is softer. Maybe it's slower. It just takes a little bit longer. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, instead of looking at it as, oh, I'm failing because I can't keep it, see how it needs to adapt depending on the situation. And speaking of adapting, the next thing are clues of strain. And I've talked about this in multiple videos, but sometimes your habits and routines just don't match your current capacity. You might want to meditate for an hour every day, and you might only be able to meditate 5 minutes because that's how long your brain can focus, and then you're done. It is way better to meditate for those 5 minutes every single day than it is to meditate for an hour once a year. So instead of considering yourself a failure or undisciplined or whatever, realize that the sustainable habit for you right now, the thing that's not going to strain you, that's why it's called clues of strain, is to meditate for 5 minutes and do that. And if you meditate for 5 minutes consistently enough, eventually you'll be able to do 6 minutes, and then 7, and then 8, and then 10, and maybe you'll even get up to an hour. Probably also, this isn't going to be linear. Probably there are moments when you'll be able to jump from like a 10-minute meditation to start meditating 20 minutes. And then for whatever reason, life will like throw a wrench in your plans and you'll go back down to 10. And then you'll go up to 20, and then you'll go back down to 5. And then you'll go up to 20 again, and then you'll go up to 30, and then you'll go back down to 15. It won't be linear, but you pushing yourself harder when a habit or a routine is straining you and draining you more than you already are, it doesn't make sense. What we are looking for is constant improvement without the shame. And while we've been taught that constant improvement means that we're always doing more, constant improvement just means doing one little thing extra every day. That doesn't mean that you meditate for 5 minutes today and 6 minutes tomorrow. That can just mean doing the most that you can today. And if that's 2 minutes, that's 2 minutes. And if that's 20, that's 20. I hope that makes sense. And the last clues that we have are clues of transition. And what I mean by clues of transition is habits that or routines that used to work beautifully for you, and for whatever reason they're not working anymore. They might have fit a season of your life that's now shifted. My morning routine that I created for a video last year, and that I did consistently for a long time, it worked really great until it didn't. And right now I've had to adapt my morning routine because it wasn't fitting my current transition, my current moment in life. If you're a university student and you graduated, you might have been staying up really late studying, but now you have a job at 9 a.m. that you have to be at. And so staying up late isn't reasonable anymore. Clues of transition are about routines or habits that you've outgrown or that need to evolve or change to fit your current life. Up until this moment, we've talked about the habits that we want to keep. But what about the habits that we want to get rid of? When we think about habits, it's really easy to think about the ones that we want to build. Oh, I want to drink more water. I want to exercise more. I want to make more time for reading. But it's also really easy to ignore the habits that we currently have that take up a lot of the space and time that all those new habits should be occupying. Every habit that you want to break, though, also gives you a clue. And it is a clue of something you need. Whether or not it is the ideal way to fill that need is something else entirely. But every habit you have is filling a need in your head and in your brain and in your heart. Scrolling late at night before you go to bed can look like bad discipline, but it might just also be fulfilling a need to disconnect and a need for play or for decompression at the end of the day that you didn't give yourself. So maybe it looks like putting on your favorite TV show or reading or building a puzzle before you go to bed. Snacking when you're not hungry usually is a need for a break or a need for distraction. Again, How are we going to fulfill that need if not through snacking when we're not hungry? Procrastination, that's a big one. And it's often a clue that a task can feel too big or too vague or too disconnected from what matters to us. And so how do we fill that need? How do we figure out what matters, and how do we make that task smaller so that we're not so intimidated by it? Overspending or impulse shopping can be a need for joy and a need for, that little moment of happiness in the day. And again, how do we fill that need if not through impulse shopping? That's what we need to look like. Instead of asking, how do I stop this? Ask yourself, what is this habit giving me? What need is it fulfilling? What is the real need that's underneath? Because once you name that need, then you have a better handle on what you can do to replace that habit and a different way to meet that need. The point, again, is not to shame the habit out of existence. It is to listen to the message that it's sending you so you can find a replacement habit that fills it instead. How do we start treating our habits and routines as data instead of as shame? We ask ourselves questions like, when does this habit actually happen? Even if it's not when you planned it, when does it happen? If you tend to keep habit streaks, we look for patterns. When does it not happen? When does it happen the most? When is it most consistent? What's different on the days that it works versus the days that it doesn't? When we ask ourselves these types of questions, we look at our lives through a lens of curiosity instead of a lens of guilt and shame. Is there a shorter or a smaller version or an easier version of this habit that feels better to me right now? Does this habit or routine keep or fit with my current life or current season of life? Is this a habit I want to break? And therefore, and if it is, what need is it fulfilling? So your experiment for this week is to pick one habit. Whether it's one you're trying to build or one you're trying to break, it doesn't matter. But instead of forcing it, just observe it for a week. Don't try to do more. Don't try to set a different thing. Don't try to change the schedule or the times you have to do it or whatever. Just observe it. Track when it happens, track where it happens, track what's going on that day. Look for patterns. Is it about rhythm? Is it about context, flexibility, flow, transition? What's the need? The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to design routines that fit your lifestyle instead of trying to fit your lifestyle around a specific routine. Looking for these clues can help you build a better life and go towards your goals faster, but also in a kinder and gentler way. And if you're up to it, I'd love to know in the comments what's the current habit that you're trying to either build and or break. My current habit that I am trying to break is how much time I have been playing on my phone. I need to identify the need behind that and see how I can replace it. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. I make new videos like this every single Friday. So until then, stay wild, stay weird, and I'll see you in the next one.